Hello and welcome to the Knit Girls. This is episode 406. I'm Laura, also known as Lala.
I'm Leslie, also known as You Don't Call Me Les. It's Labor Day in the States. It's Monday, September the 3rd, 2018.
You know who has a birthday this week? Mama Linneman.
Oh, really?
Yep, it's the 7th.
And she's home.
She is.
Which is unusual this year.
We could send her a balloon bouquet.
I was thinking more like male stripper who leaves glitter everywhere.
Weezy would appreciate
that.
that.
I'm sure. Your Mama Linneman would make him stay and clean. Yeah, so we're both off work.
Yeah.
Today, with it being Labor Day.
So we had 3 days off in a row, both of us.
Yeah. So I think I've seen Laura like 3 times this weekend.
You saw me, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Yep. Because you had a shindig at your house on Saturday night.
And I had come to your house earlier that day.
Yeah.
And then
Sunday, we went and got Mexican food.
Yeah.
And today we went out for breakfast. We've seen each other quite a bit.
Well, breakfast is misleading. It was 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
We still went and got breakfast, so we went to Cracker Barrel for breakfast.
Yeah. Like patriots.
Yes. And then we went and checked out sheds at
Home Depot
because we watched Making It this week, and we were like, we should totally make over our shed into our studio.
Yeah.
And then we saw how much sheds were. We were like, perhaps not.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
It would be fun, but my husband has been wanting a workshop for several years. So if I got a shed, like a dream studio, before he got a workshop, there might be some arguments
issues
in this house.
Plus, if he gets his workshop, then you get your garage back.
This is true. It would be nice to use the garage for things like putting a cart.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
And then you wouldn't have to scrape off the little bit of ice we get in the winter time. It'd be nice and warm, or nice and cool. It wouldn't be so hot when you went out to your car.
I mean,
anyway.
First world problem.
Yeah.
I fully acknowledge that, but
I don't have a garage. It's very sad.
I didn't in Jersey, and I really needed it there because it doesn't just snow this much in Jersey. It snows like 10 inches overnight. So.
And it was very odd that your house didn't have a garage.
Yeah, most of them on the street didn't for some reason. But anyway, this is a knitting podcast most of the time. So we can talk about knitting.
Would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first?
Mine's in the round, so any time is fine.
Why don't you go first?
Okay.
Mine's in the round, but it still has rows.
So, I haven't knit a ton on this week. I've been knitting on other things, which you'll see, but this is my pavement sweater by by Vera Valimaki.
There you go.
And it's out of
Tweety
Toes in the Bordeaux colorway. That's a little lighter than what it's showing.
It's a great fall color.
Yes, it is merino nylon tweed by Two Guys Yarn Company. Colorway is Bordeaux.
And we'll see them in Vicksburg.
All
our friends, they posted the vendor map, and I looked at the first version, but they did a second version, and all our friends are kind of in a row.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I was super excited. We'll still go to see the other people.
Of course.
But I was like, we get to see everyone in one central area. Like Rick, Two Guys, Teeny Button Studio, Forbidden Fiber, they're all in this one section.
Neat.
I know we're missing someone too.
I'm sure.
But everyone was in that one little section.
So this is just plain stockinette for years. And this is the Progress Pig, where I was last week. And
so you've been good progress.
About 2.5, 3 inches.
Inch and a half, maybe 2.
That is not an inch and a half.
Okay, 2 inches. I don't think it's 3 inches.
But if it's from here,
should we pull out a tape measure?
Yeah,
okay.
I feel like it's more than that.
Okay.
I don't have a tape measure with me right this second. I feel like there was one up here.
I don't know. I did not steal it. It'll turn up.
There's got to be one somewhere. Okay, well, I'll look for it when you're talking.
Okay.
So, yeah, I haven't knit a ton, but it's just around and around. I'm still on my first skein because I have not been alternating. Once I'm close to the end of my first skein, it's getting there.
It's definitely getting there.
Then I'll start alternating, and then I'm going to
you probably only have like 10 grams left.
lay it out flat and take a picture in different exposures just to see if it's like pooling weird or that I can't see from the naked eye. So,
and do it in like direct sunlight too.
Yeah. So this is what I'm working on right now. It's the only thing, well, it's not really the only thing I'm actively working on. So, our friend Gail passed away.
Oh, yeah.
And I decided that I was going to knit something that was in her queue, sort of in honor of her, and then I was going to raffle it off at SSK. Well, I put it down after a little bit, and I didn't pick it back up in time for SSK. So I picked it back up, and I've been knitting on it. And
it'll just be for SSK 2019.
Well, I don't know. So here's the deal. It's this pattern, Swoop by Romy Hill.
Yeah.
And it starts off, well, I don't know, I have a heel version of this.
There's another pattern in the middle of your pattern, friend.
So this is the general schematic for it. You cast on with this short edge over here, and then you're just constantly using short rows to add more stitches, and it grows out.
Yeah.
Right?
It creates a huge swoop.
Right. And there's alternating sections of striped garter with netting, like a lace netting. And you have to constantly juggle a dozen plus stitch markers, which is a pain. And it's just, I'm not liking it. Not because there's anything wrong with the pattern, it's a lot more to pay attention to than I really want to do.
Right now?
Yeah.
Or just in general?
Plus it's got these sections where, because of the way the short rows are done, these like blips of solid color, which are intentional, that they're there in Romy's version as well. So I know I'm not making a mistake, but they bother me. You know, because they break up that visual pattern.
Gotcha.
So, I don't know. I may rip this out.
Why don't you sleep on it?
I've been sleeping on it for a few days. So I'm gonna let it sit for a minute because I don't need this yarn for anything specific. So,
what yarn is it?
This is Merino Yak Silk from Gail's Art. Both of these colors are. So, I don't know. I don't know if Gail's profile is still active on Ravelry, and if it is, maybe I can go and find something else.
Yeah, I have no idea.
So maybe
I would think it is,
unless that you specifically asked for it to be retired. It probably is. So, yeah. I mean, like I said, it's not hard. You're just doing stripe short row to a certain stitch marker, and then you wrap and turn, and you go back, and it's shorter every time, and then it gets longer, and I don't know. It's just.
You're not in the right brain space.
I'm never gonna. You never get to a point where you're like, oh, I don't need to look at the pattern.
You always need to look at the pattern.
I feel like you do.
Okay.
So, right now that's just sort of in a timeout until I decide what to do about it. We're gonna measure my progress pig here. Stay. All right, from my pig.
All right.
3.5 inches almost. Oh, that's too far up. 3 inches.
3 inches.
So,
I was wrong. I'm sorry.
Right, you're sorry. Yeah.
I'm really not sorry.
Yeah, I know.
But thank you for not being too mean when I was wrong.
That's pretty much all I'm actively working on at the moment. Yeah.
Okay, I just have one thing that I'm actively working on. They are my socks out of TheKnitGirlls in the Bellatrix colorway. This is the second one. And I am So last week I was on the start of the black, and no, I was on the start of this black, and now I'm on a purple section. It goes like a variegated gray that has green in it, then black, then a very dark eggplanty purple, then black again, then to the variegated gray again. So I have 7 repeats of the striping pattern total to do. And I'm just putting in Afterthought heels. So where that orange is on this one will be where the heel gets placed. I think I have 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. So I have quite a few to do, but this is my only active project right now. I'm knitting it on size 1s because it is her sport weight. So I'm going to work on this until Wednesday when some needles that I ordered came in, and I can start working on some sock arms, little sock arm sweaters for my nieces. So that's where I'm at right now. This will be my only project until Wednesday when I cast on for the little sock arms. So maybe I'll get a little bit done. I do have an after school meeting, then tutoring, then volleyball tomorrow. So there's not going to be a whole ton of time for knitting tomorrow, but maybe a little bit. We'll see. Maybe while I'm waiting for, like, they do like warm-ups for 15 minutes in between the 2 volleyball matches. Maybe I'll make the most of that time, and instead of playing on Instagram, I'll work on this. So that's the only thing on my needles right now. It's in my Judgy Rabbit Fat Squirrel bag, and it lives in my backpack, and it goes everywhere with me. So that's it for me.
Okay.
But you have some finished objects.
I do. I have a couple of finished objects, and they're adorable.
We're both knitting all the baby knits this week for different people. Oh, that did come out super cute.
This is the Bits and Pieces. This is a bonnet, and it's by Vera Valimaki. So I just had a yarn cake in it to give it some shape. So it starts here at the bottom, and then you do some increases to sort of cup the back of the head, and then you do short rows and then decreases on the short rows.
And then at the end you pick up I-cord?
So the only modification that I did was when you begin, you just cast on and knit 4 stitches in stockinette, so it does this roll thing on its own, which is very cute. And then it has you, once you've finished up here, when you are done with your decreases, you only have this center section worth of stitches, and then 1 on either side. So it has you pick up stitches all along the brim, and then do that same thing for 4 rows, and then it just curls on its own. But what I did instead was, and then after that, it has you pick up on each corner and do 6 inches of I-cord. So what I did instead was I just did the 6 inches of I-cord,
picked up,
and then picked up and knit the I-cord as an applied I-cord, so that it's all one long piece.
Gotcha.
Fewer ends to weave in, believe it or not. It was easier for me. So yeah, it's really cute. It needs a blocking. It's got some like wonky stitches from the way that it was decreased, but this was 2 episodes, no, because I kept screwing up the short rows because I kept doubting the way that I was doing it. It took 3 episodes of Great British Bake Off and a couple of Beastmasters at your house.
Like 5 hours total.
Yeah.
That's not bad for a fingering weight bonnet.
And if I had just not doubted myself, it would have been more like 3.5. But
yeah,
if you don't knit it twice, then so this is the first baby knit, and then the second baby knit I had out of some Wollmeise DK. I already had it caked up, so it was easy to use this.
Aww.
It's a teeny little baby bear hat.
That's adorable. So
the pattern is just called Baby Bear Hat. It's linked in the show notes, which are on the TheKnitGirlls.com, 3 L's in the TheKnitGirlls. The modification that I did is the way that the ears were written. You picked up, I think it was like 8 stitches, and then you did the ear back and forth in garter stitch. And I didn't want that. I wanted a fuller, like, really
more
rounded
cups, yeah.
ear. And I played around with it for a while before I finally figured out what I wanted, because I was thinking maybe I would do like an applied I-cord around the edge so that it would really give it that cupped look. But
no, I like it the way it is.
I basically just picked up on one side and then the back side and knit it in the round.
Oh, like I do my leaves.
And then decreased it subtly until I had like
cute.
8 stitches at the top.
Yeah.
And then strung it through. And that way it had like a squat ear rather than a pointed ear.
Love it.
Which is what I wanted. So, this one's just a simple roll hat. I didn't swatch or anything, but I knit it to the 3-month size. This is going to the Baby Knitter's Nightmare. Baby, it's not, I can't remember their last name now. Sadie's last name, her and Porter are having a baby, if you didn't know that. I did verify that it was made public before.
She does Knitter's Nightmare and then Yarnivore podcast.
And also the floss one.
She does a floss tube as well.
Yeah, I can't remember what that's called. So she likes knitting baby sweaters and stuff, and really doesn't like knitting hats and booties, so I thought, well, that's cool, I'll do the hats and booties.
There you go.
And of course Laura's going to knit her stuff too, so. But
that's the plan.
So 2 baby knits done this week.
She's not due till January, so
plenty of time.
Plenty of time.
But this was a quick thing I can make and finish in a week, so that made me happy. And I've got several patterns queued for some very simple booties. And I've got a couple of patterns for woobies queued, which are like little stuffed animal heads that are on like little blanket bodies. They're really cute. So if you have like a no-fail baby knit, I'd be curious to see what it is.
Yeah, that would be helpful for everyone, I think.
For Laura too, because everybody she knows gets pregnant like all the time.
So I have a baby shower this week on Wednesday. I have a baby shower for one of my coworkers, and her older kids are in high school, and this was kind of a surprise.
Surprise!
So I knit her another pumpkin hat. This is gonna be my last pumpkin hat out of this hand spun because I'm out of hand spun. And I modified it unintentionally because I thought I had the pattern memorized, and I totally didn't. So instead of, it's done in repeats of 10, and you knit 8 and purl 2, I knit 9 and purled 1. So it's not quite, it doesn't have quite the texture pattern that the other one did. But I followed the rest and just kind of altered the decreases and put them in pattern at the top instead of the patterning that they were in, because the decreases at the top are in pattern. And it has that cute double-sided leaf. So this will be the last one of that hand spun. This took 30 grams of hand spun, and I only have 16 left. So I'd like to get little matching socks done with this before her due date, but I don't think I will. So this is the first part. And then the second part is I knit a baby vertebrae. And I had less than a yard left when I bowed off.
I thought you'd have much more than that.
Yeah, I was hoping that I'd have like enough for
show
a
the
hat.
backside so you can see the color.
So this is the fiber seed in their DK weight, and it is in the Funfetti colorway. I picked this up at SSK this year because I knew I'd have a few baby knits. I always have baby knits.
Yeah.
So, and someone said, did it stripe intentionally? And when you look at the front, it does look like it's striped. Because of the
way that the yarn is dyed.
Yeah, it's one of her pooling colorways, but it's in this it actually striped. So this is the baby vertebrae pattern. I did the newborn size of her DK weight, and so
and Laura's knit that pattern several times.
Yeah, it's kind of one of my go-tos, and it used all 100. Well, it used 249 yards. So, and I cast this on Saturday, so. I'm happy that I got it done. I'm playing something with Harry Potter House Cup called Whip Tag. So there's teams of 3, and when you get tagged, you have
tagging on Instagram.
No, on Ravelry.
Oh, okay.
So when you get tagged on Ravelry, you have which is just hot linking. You have 3 days to complete an hour worth of knitting on a whip, or an hour worth of spinning on a whip, or crochet or weaving or whatever
Right.
you're doing. It's kind of open-ended, and then you tag the next person, and it just goes. And I'm on a fast team, and we keep tagging each other within 24 hours this weekend because we're all off this weekend.
Overachievers.
So in the last 12 hours, I've been like tagged. I've been tagged once, but I'm getting tagged like once every 24 hours. The record is the whole team goes through in 18 hours, and if my person behind me, she's like, oh, I'm going to go right away so that we can beat that record, because that'll give us like...
How many people are on the team?
3.
Oh, okay.
So all 3 of us will get done within like 6 hours.
Do you get more points if you...
No, there's no points.
Oh.
It's just to keep you motivated and it's like to keep you
I can't believe
working.
there's no points involved in this.
Well, there is, because I finished, this is a
Well,
class.
yeah, but...
So this is going to be a class for Harry Potter House Cup. Flying is a gift for other people this term. And then this will be my detention, because I cast this on ahead of time. So that's at least 25 points right there. More, probably, because I'll get a yardage bonus for that, probably. But, yeah. So I have my one class that you have to get done for the month done. So
Cool.
I could be done right now. I mean, I could work on my owl exclusively
Jessica
for the
could
rest.
decimate you.
She could. She's done like 2 classes already while she was waiting for her owl. And then I have some spinning. Do you have any spinning? Okay. So I finished my batlings from Knit Spin Farm. This was 5.5 ounces of the classic Halloween costumes colorways. So they were mini batlings that I 2-plied together. So they are around a worsted weight, I would say. They poofed up quite a bit. So I'm going to knit a cowl called Squeeze Box by Danny Sunshine, which is just like a textured cowl, and this is going to be for me for Halloween. And I think I am going to... so it calls for more yardage than what I have. I have 280 yards of this 2-ply. But I think I can make a decent size like this, like a 2-yard around cowl, and get it like 5 inches versus the 8 inches that it calls for. So we'll see. I could also add like gray on either side too if I wanted.
I think it's very pretty, but I think thinking that it will be cool enough to wear a cowl in October is wishful thinking.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. We'll be going to Asheville, hopefully, maybe, so
That's true.
it might be cooler on that side of the Tennessee, North Carolina border. So that's the first thing, and that's from Knit Spin Farm. And then I finished the singles today while we were watching Beastmaster of the Hello yarn and the Falkland and the Smolder colorway. So this was
Oh, the
for Patreon last month, and then I started actually this month's Patreon, which is some more Knit Spin Farm batlings. And I got these gemstone colorways as part of my prize for Tour de Fleece, and it goes from like an opal, and the opal has like a little bit of like a citron in it, and then the citron has like a streak of gray in it, and then it goes to like a silver gray, and then that gray goes to like an amethyst, and then there's like peridots, and then like an aquamarine. So it's gonna be really, really pretty, and I'm gonna chain ply all of that together. So hopefully I'll get those plied this week, and the other ones finished and plied as well. And I'm throwing everything in my SSK bag from this year. So that's what I brought all my stuff in today. So that's all my stuff. I can put that on the floor so I'm not reaching all over the place. So that's it for me. What have you been reading, friend?
Oh, I have to actually go down so that I can see what I've been reading, because I've been reading a lot. Okay. So Laura, if you've watched the show, then you know Laura and I both have a strong love for the writing duo known as Alana Andrews.
Yes.
Laura has been a long time fan, and I got introduced to her a few years
And they
back.
were at Dragon Con this weekend, and I really wanted to go, but there was like no way.
Yeah. So Alana Andrews is a husband-wife team. They write a lot of different series in the paranormal fantasy world.
It's an urban paranormal fantasy.
And one of their longest running series is the Kate Daniels series, and the final book in that got published this past week, and that was called Magic Triumphs. And each one of them has been magic something, magic breaks, magic burns, magic, I don't know. So the final book in that series came out, and the first book in a spin-off series came out a few weeks back called Iron and Magic, which was a Hugh Dombre spin-off series. He was a character in several of the other Kate Daniels books.
He was the villain. Well, one of the villains.
Right. So you go into it thinking, I don't know how I'm going to feel about this book. And, like, he as a character doesn't alleviate that for a couple of hours. You're interested, but you still don't like him.
Yeah.
I won't spoil it for anyone. I will say I was pleasantly surprised by Iron and Magic, and I will definitely read any follow-up books. They did leave it open for the possibility of a sequel. I have no idea if they're going to write a sequel for it. I just think, like, story-wise, it's open for that.
It probably depends if their publisher wants them to or not.
And then the final book in the Kate Daniels series, the whole time I was listening to it, I was a little bit sad because I was like, this is the last one. It's the last one.
Yeah.
It was really good. A lot happens in the book. It starts out with her giving birth to her child because she's pregnant at the end of the last book. And the way that they write the kid's personality, hilarious and wonderful. There is some interaction from Kate and Hugh in this one.
Oh.
As well as her father Roland, as well as a new villain they have to fight. Really good. And her aunt, who's like, I don't really know how to say it, her spirit is around.
I was going to say, because she dies in, like, book 3.
Right, but her spirit is in that dagger or whatever.
Okay.
Remember?
No. That's why I haven't done these past 2 books, because I need to re-listen to...
There's some really interesting things that happen with her, and...
Because it's been, like, 10 years since the first book came out, and
so.
I have not been... I've reread the series a couple times, but it's been... years since
but it'll
I
be a pleasure to re-listen
to. Oh yeah,
that,
like
so.
It'll be great, and I am probably gonna listen so that I can get some good knitting time in.
It's really good. I'm very sad that it's over, but it definitely left the possibility of several different arcs for spin-offs, so I'm curious to see where that'll go.
I want them to continue the series that takes place in Texas.
Oh, the Hidden Magic series?
Yeah.
Hidden Legacy?
Hidden Legacy.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I think they are continuing that one.
Yeah, because there's 3 in that so far. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then the Innkeeper series is continuing as well.
Yeah. They have some really great series out there if you're at all interested in that genre.
The Wife is a Knitter, which is super fun.
Yeah. So I listened to both of those. I gorged. You know, there hadn't been any new Kate Daniels since early this year, or new Alana Andrews since early this year. And so I gorged on like 30 hours of it.
Well, this one was originally because they always would come out in March, I believe. So this one was supposed to come out in March, and then they got pushed back by the publisher. So it's been like, since a Kate book was written, maybe like a year and a half.
Yeah.
So
I had a good audio week because I had something to listen to all the time,
which is great.
I'm listening to a book called Weave World, which is by Clive Barker. It was written and published in the late 80s, I think. And it's apparently I've only read 1 or 2 books by Clive Barker, but it's a deviation from his standard. It was really his only, at the time anyway, it was his only foray into the world of this sort of fantasy horror kind of genre. So I tried reading it first, and I just couldn't get into it. And this was months back. So I used an Audible credit and bought it, and I'm glad I did. Now I'm like 6 or 7 hours into it, and it's good. I'm still confused as to what's happening, but it's good. And then as far as what I'm actually reading, I'm reading a book called Fated, which Fated. It's the first in an Alex Verus series, which is a 9-book series. It's sort of modern day magic, kind of. I can't really say because I'm only like a third of the way into it, but so far it's good. I paid for it. It was like $8, so it has to be decent or I won't pay for it. I always do the sample. Gosh, I love Kindle just for the whole sampling feature. I've been talking for a while. So what have you been reading?
So I had started a while back Burn Bright by Patricia Briggs. I had read it, and then I got the audio from my public library, and then the audio expired when I was like 6 chapters in, which irritated me. But then it came back up, like I put it back on hold. So I've been listening to that the last couple days. I really like Patricia Briggs, and the Alpha Omega books are my favorite. So I'm listening to that, and then I'm reading Badlands by Morgan Bryce, which is an adult book. It is takes place on a boardwalk. I want to say North Carolina beach. I don't know. Yeah, I feel like it's a North Carolina beach town, and the main character is a medium. So he can converse with the dead, but he's kind of been shunned. He was an academic, he was like a professor, and then he got kind of removed because people found out that he could talk to ghosts, or thought he could talk to ghosts. And so he went and gives like ghost tours and does like tarot card readings. And there's a serial killer in town, and this cop's kind of at the end of his wits, so he sees his sign, and together, it's kind of a male-male romance. It is a male-male romance. Together, they've got to work together to try to stop this serial killer who's preying on the population who works primarily in hotels, like people who have come over on visas, like work visas. So the serial killer is kind of doing a Jack the Ripper on those people, that type of person. So it's been interesting. I did pay for it. It's not a Kindle Unlimited. I did the sample and I was like, yeah, I can get behind this. So it's not anything revolutionary, but I'm enjoying it right now. And that's it for me for reading. I'm still reading Front Desk when I'm at work. I just have to find time to read kids' stuff at work, which hasn't happened this past week, but I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna find some time. I did get like 40 new books out of my library, so that made me super happy. That arrived over the summer, and I should have a new order coming in soon as well. So, got all those processed now. That was my main focus for the week. I try to get whatever comes in out, so that it's not just sitting.
Yeah, so the kids can have new books.
Yeah, and we've been playing Goose Chase, so that's been super fun. It's an app where it's an online scavenger hunt app. So they've been doing scavenger hunts in the library using the iPads, which has been fun. We are going to do... So Leslie and I are both working on curating our favorites for Stash Stash. So we will have that hopefully ready next week, that we can show you guys some of our favorite projects. The striped sock yarn Cal, I left the August thread open because the FO thread open because I opened it very late, but I'm going to start the September thread this week. I'm not going to let it go late. We're going to pull for that next week along with Patreon, and the Gales Our Advent Calendar will also pull for next week. So if you're a little bit behind on us, you still have the possibility. She's giving away her Advent Calendar, which is like almost a $200 value. And you just post your favorite Christmas image to the giveaway thread on Ravelry, which is super cool and super generous of Gail. And I really want this Advent Calendar for myself. Like,
we're both a little greedy, thinking, should we?
Exactly. But I don't typically knit sock blanks, just because it's something with my fingers. I just don't like knitting with sock blanks. I'm a weirdo. But most people do.
Well, Laura doesn't like the kinkiness in the yarn when you pull it out. She's not kinky that way. I don't mind it just because of the way I knit. I'm tensioning it anyway.
Yeah, I tension my yarn much differently than Leslie does.
Yeah. So it's just a personal preference. So, what else?
You had something that you wanted to talk about Fiber Friends tag?
Yeah, so I finally stopped sitting on my sofa to work from home all day. Instead of just using my laptop, I'm actually sitting at my desk like a grown-up. And so I've got 2 monitors there, so it's easier for me to like listen to a podcast while I'm working.
Yeah.
That way.
So you've been watching some new stuff.
Yeah, I've been letting YouTube just sort of suggest things for me to try.
That's very dangerous.
Sometimes it's great. Sometimes it's an automatic no. But one of the things I came across was several new podcasters, new to me, not necessarily new. And one of them was Chevy Rell. Her name is actually Chevis, and she lives in Indiana, I think.
Chevyrell.
Yes. And that's the name of her podcast. And earlier this year, she started a thing. She calls it the Fiber Friends tag, and then several other podcasters played along, and they also did episodes like this, where they had someone else that they lived with, whether it's their romantic partner or a sibling or someone who is not a crafter, who is they live with or is a big part of their life, and they would ask them a bunch of questions that were submitted by their viewers about
like their partner's fiber arts type stuff.
Like so Chevy Rell, she had like 36 questions that her viewers submitted. Some of them were like, how much would you say a skein of fingering weight sock costs?
Oh, right. And so they're asking their like muggle partners who don't know. Okay.
Craft related questions. What's your favorite thing I've ever made for you? What is your favorite thing I've ever made, period? What are you embarrassed when I craft in public? Or, things like that. Like, that affect the partner or the parent or the sibling or whatever.
Yeah, okay.
And so there were some really interesting ones, not just on Chevy's episode, but on several others. One of my favorite ones that I watched was by a lady, I think it was called Simply Maur, Maur.
Uh-huh.
And her husband was on there too, and she's retired and he's close to being retired, and she was like, how much do you think this yarn cost? And he looks at it and he's like, well, how many yards is it? And she said, 400 or something. He was like, $3. And she's like, yeah. That's right.
That's exactly right.
It cracked me up. And he kept like appealing to everyone on the that was a viewer, and he was like, America, what I need from you is, it cracked me up. I had a really good time.
It sounds very cute.
So I immediately messaged Michael. So Michael and I both work from home. Michael is Mr. Awesome, my husband, and he works upstairs in his office, and I can't always just yell and say, hey, I've got a question, because he's on meetings much more often than I am. So they don't want to hear his wife screaming at him in the background. So I use our IM program, and I messaged him like, how willing to indulge me are you?
Did you send him any of the episodes?
No.
Oh, okay.
And so, like, 30 seconds later, he comes out of his office, and he's like, what? So I explained the process, and I said, are you willing to, sit with me and Laura and just answer some questions? And he took a few minutes to think about it. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll do that. So, this is where you come in.
Oh, so they're going to come up with questions?
Yeah. I'll open a separate thread for this. And you just submit questions about things that you want to know about. They don't all have to be, like, about crafting. And
you're going to get a bazillion questions about the fish thing.
Yeah, probably. But you can ask general questions about Mr. Awesome himself, or hobbies or whatever, that's fine. I reserve the right to not ask a question if it's too nebby or nosy or whatever the word is.
It's nebby. I'm gonna get you speaking Pittsburghese before you know it.
But I think it'll be fun. We've had several people over the years talk about how they would love to meet Mr. Awesome.
Yeah.
So he probably will never go to an event with me, but
no.
This is as close as you'll get.
Yeah. Well, maybe Saf. He wouldn't actually go to Saf. He would go hike around while we went to Saf.
So I'll open a thread and we'll leave it open for a week or so, and then record. It'll be a separate from any of our normal episodes because I'll have to edit it, I'm sure. And if him looking down at his phone annoys you probably shouldn't watch it at all because he's going to be doing that most of the time. That's it. That's all I can think of with that. But yeah, if it sounds like something you're interested in watching other podcasters who have done it, you can just search YouTube for Fiber Friends Tag, and a lot of them will come up that way.
Yeah, and if it's awesome, we might try it with Wheezy.
I would love to have Wheezy sit down and answer some questions.
He'll have to come in and we'll have to.
I would love to have Wheezy on camera answering some questions.
Yeah.
Because he is a fascinating person.
He is a fascinating person, I would agree. And he goes in a lot of yarn shops, so
he knows a lot about it.
He might know more than
your average
you and
bear.
I think he knows.
Yeah, and because Mama Linneman's a very varied crafter, he has a wide variety.
He was giving her heck today, and she was giving it right back. So my parents called me, and I was talking about blocking that baby sweater, and he goes, "Your mother has a baby sweater here that needs to be blocked too. She should do that." I was like, "Really?" And he's like, "I'm about to get one of those flashing PennDOT boards that say block this sweater." And I was like, "That's really mean, Wheezy." And Mom goes, "Well, and it's none of his business either."
Why is it like offending him?
It's not offending him. He just wants it done, I think. I don't even know who my mom knit a baby sweater for. Like,
maybe she started it for one of the girls.
My mom is currently. It would be fun just to have Mom on in general,
I
but she's knitting a Fair Isle 80s tastic kit that she got. What is the name of those people? They used to always go to Maryland Sheep and Wool. Jasmine of TheKnitGirlls loves their Fair Isle technique. I'll think of it after we're done recording, but she's knitting one of Philosopher's Wool. She's knitting a Philosopher's Wool kit.
It's like a sweater?
Yeah, it's a sweater. It's like a Fair Isle boxy shaped sweater. So it would be super in right now. But yeah, it was original yarn from the 80s.
Wow.
So you'll have to Google Philosopher's Wool.
I will.
Because they were, I think, a Canadian-based company that was super popular in the 80s and 90s. They went to Maryland probably until, maybe 2000. I think is the last time I saw them at Maryland. Maybe a little bit earlier than that. I don't know. I never bought one of their kits because when I started knitting, for real, I never knit sweaters until probably 2007. And as, someone who... That's a big investment.
Yeah.
Their kits were, even though they were at Maryland, they were a big investment. Yeah. Well, things at Maryland, are priced accordingly. But also, I was not a Fair Isle knitter. So, anyway. Yeah, she's working on that. So, she's going through her stash and knitting it up. Because she's a responsible adult who does responsible things.
I'm just picturing both her and Wheezy together on a podcast with us asking them questions and how hilarious it would be.
That would be good.
I would need to upgrade my hard drive to a 200 gig hard drive just so that I could
contain the awesomeness. That would be funny.
It would be.
We'll have to see if they can come. I think, Wheezy's getting another knee replacement in November, so they won't be traveling till January.
Yeah. But we'll have just been there in October.
Yeah. Well, I'm going there for Thanksgiving. Probably.
Oh, that's right.
I'm not going to I'm not going to NCTE this year. I'm gonna go because he'll be getting his knee replacement right before Thanksgiving. He thinks. It's like depending on the doctor.
I'm sure your mom would be thrilled with that because he'll stay out of the kitchen.
Yeah. Well, yeah. He doesn't mess with stuff in the kitchen a lot anyways, but...
I mean, I know he cooks for himself.
Yeah, he cooks breakfast all the time. He is the breakfast master. I wish he lived closer so I could just go over there and get breakfast. Like on Saturdays. That would be amazing. But no, they had to move far away. Anyway, that's it for knitting this week. We will see y'all for 3 giveaways next week. And loads of other cool stuff. Maybe I'll finish some socks. Who knows? It's a mystery.
Yeah, there'll probably be a baby thing.
From one of us.
Yeah.
There you go.
So you guys,
but not an actual baby.
No.
From one of us.
No. Laura was talking about how one of her girlfriends, their kids are in high school, and she just found out she was pregnant, and I was like, I would be heartbroken.
Yeah.
I mean, babies are great. Don't get me wrong, babies are great, but to have to do all that all over again, oof.
Yeah. It's a lot.
Okay. You guys have a lovely week, and we will talk to you next time.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.